Hello, Miss Gia and Miss Krista's class. Welcome to your history lesson for this week. Now, we are finished talking about toys, and we are finished talking about timelines. Now, we are going to talk about queens. That was my crown, in case you're wondering. This is my queen crown. So, what is a queen? Do you know any famous queens? Well, in school we have a picture, many pictures of a famous queen. Do you know the pictures at school of the famous queen? Yeah, it's Queen Elizabeth II. So that means that she is the second person in the history of the UK to be named Elizabeth and be the queen. So there was Queen Elizabeth the First, number one, and then now there is a different woman. Her name is also Elizabeth. So she is Queen Elizabeth the Second. Oh. But, we're going to look at some of these questions from this page of your workbook. So, let's talk about what it means to be a queen. What is a queen? Is it just someone famous? No, a queen is the leader of a country. But she's always a woman. So queen is for a female or a woman leader, and king is for a male or a man leading. So now in history, we're only talking about queens. So all of these people will be women who have been leaders in their country. So a queen is in charge, or she leads the country. Now, that's what a queen is. And what does it mean to be royal? What does royal mean? Well, for example, right now, Queen Elizabeth II has her royal family. So her children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, all of those people, because they are related to the queen, are royal. They are part of the queen's family. So if you are royal, you are related to the queen. Maybe she is your mother, maybe the queen is your grandmother, maybe the queen is your sister or your aunt. That if you are in that family, you are royal. And let's see. Did anyone think of any famous queens? What famous queens do we know? Well, I have a list of some famous queens from all around the world. Do you guys want to hear? Maybe you know these queens. There's Queen Cleopatra from Egypt. Queen Zenobia from Syria. Queen Lakshmibai from India. There's Catherine the Great, who was a queen in Russia. Queen Elizabeth, like we talked about, in the UK. And Queen Margherita from Italy. Now, there are many, many queens internationally, in the history and now. But these are some of the more famous queens. Okay? And let's see. Since we are talking about Queen Elizabeth II, we should talk about where Queen Elizabeth II lives. What country is she the leader of? So she is leading the United Kingdom. And she lives in England. Do you know what is the capital of England? England is the country, and in the country there is one capital city. Do you know the capital city of England? That's right. The capital city is London. London is the capital of England. And finally, some geography in our history class. What continent is England in? What continent is England in? Well, there are many continents. There's Americas, North America, South America, Antarctica, Asia, Africa, Europe. Where do we find the country of England? Is England in South America? No. Is England in Asia? No. England is part of the continent of Europe. So, London is the capital of England, and England, the country, is in the continent of Europe. Okay, friends, we're going to look at this next page of your history workbook. This page is talking about centuries. Centuries. That seems like a new word. Keep watching this video and I will show you exactly what I mean when I say centuries. Okay. Hey, Miss Gia and Miss Krista's class. So we're going to talk a little bit about centuries. Now, the word century. Has anyone ever heard of this word before? Do you know what it means? I want us to look at the first part of this word, This word and this part of the word cent helps us realize that a century is 100 years. 100 years. So, for example, if I'm talking about the time from 1500 to 1599, which is about 100 years, this is equal to the 16th century. Or if I'm talking about 1800 to 1899, this is equal to the 19th century. And if we're talking about right now, so 2000 to 2099, this is the 21st century. So right now, in 2020, which is the year that it is today, we are in the 21st century. Because we are not past 100 years since 2000, we are still in the 21st century. So, if I say, what century is the year 1756? What century is this year, 1756? Well, let's look. Here we have the 1500s, 15 to 1599, and that is the 16th century. 1800 to 1899 is the 19th century. And 2000 to 2099 is the 21st. So, is this answer A, the 16th century, B, the 17th century, or C, the 18th century? What do you think? Is it A, B, or C? That's correct. It is letter C. Because we need to look at the first two numbers and then add 1. And that gives us the century that we are talking about. So if we talk about the year 1500, the first two numbers are 15, so we need to add 1, and it gives us the 16th century. We are in the year 2020, so we take the 20 and we add 1, and that gives us the 21st century. Now, let's test this again. What about, I'm just going to erase all of this. So, 100 years. What about the year, let's see, 1994. The year 1994. What century is that? Is that A, the 20th century, B, the 19th, or C, the 18th century? What do you think? 20th, 19th, or 18th? Well, what are the first two numbers of the year? That's right, it's 19. So we need to do 19 plus 1 gives us the century. 19 plus 1 is 20. So that means that 1994, that year, is in the 20th century. What century were you born? What century were you born? Well, you have to know what year you were born. Okay, so let's see. Most of you guys are 7. So 2020 minus 7, 2013, more or less, maybe 2012. But you know what? Since we're talking about centuries, it doesn't matter if it's a year difference. So these years, 2013 or 2012, are they A, the 20th century, B, the 19th century, or C, the 21st century? What do you think? They're in the same century. So it's only one answer for both of these years. What do you think? Were you born in the 20th century, in the 19th century, or the 21st century? Well, if you were born in 2013 or in 2012, they both start with 20. And we know that the century number is always one more than that, so we have to do 20 plus 1, and that gives us this answer right here. You guys from year 2 were born in the 21st century. Do you know anyone born in the 20th century? Who was born in the 20th century? Miss Gia. Miss Gia was born in the 20th century because I was born in 1991. So we take the 19, we add a 1 to figure out what century, and that gives us 20. So I was born in the 20th century. Ask in your family, what century were people born? Were your grandparents born in the 20th century? Maybe you had grandparents or great-grandparents who were born in the 19th century. See what century people were born in your house. And then work on page 19 of your history workbook, where we look at the different queens, 3 different queens, and what centuries they were alive. All right, guys. Have a good weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Bye.